Lesson 36, multiplying, dividing integers, and multiplying and dividing terms. So when we multiply integers, you have to remember if the two numbers have the same signs that you're multiplying, then you're going to have a positive answer or a positive product. So if you have a positive number times another positive number, you'll get a positive product. If you have a negative number times a negative number, you'll get a positive product. Sometimes people like to use the word love and hate for the plus and minus. So if you looked at this, you would say love to love. Someone who loves to love is going to love, which is positive. And here you have someone who hates to hate. And if you hate to hate, then you love, and it's positive. This only works for multiplying and dividing. If you have different signs and you're multiplying or dividing, you're going to have a negative answer. So if you had a positive times a negative, the answer will be negative, and a negative times a positive, the answer will be negative. So if you use the love and hate words for these symbols, you have loves to hate. Someone who loves to hate is going to be hate. So that's going to be negative. And here's one that hates to love. So if you hate to love, well, then you're going to be a hater and you hate. So that would be negative. If you have a number raised to an exponent, if the number is negative, so with a negative base, okay, so the base is negative, and you have an odd exponent on that negative number, then you will have a negative answer. So here's an example. Let's take -2 and raise it to the 5th power. Because the base is negative and the exponent is odd, I know my answer will be negative. Then I can just ignore the sign and do 2 to the 5th power, which is 32. And here's another example. -3 cubed. Notice that the base is just 3. This negative sign is not in parentheses. So this is going to be a negative and then whatever 3 cubed is. So 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. So the answer will be -27. And that's because the negative is not in parentheses. If you have a negative base and an even exponent, then your answer when you multiply will be a positive answer. So here's an example. -2 to the 4th power. So -2 is negative base. The whole thing is raised to the 4th power, so our answer will be a positive number, and 2 to the 4th power is 16, so it just equals 16. Then if we do -2 to the 4th, this negative sign means it's negative, and then we take 2 to the 4th. Oops. 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, so it'd be -16. So you got to watch where those parentheses are. If you don't have parentheses on it, the negative sign stays, and then you raise it to the power and simplify your answer. If you do have parentheses, then you have to follow these two statements there. Now, square roots have two possible answers. And they are both going to be, one's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. So for example, if I had the square root of 16, we all know that that's 4, but it could also be -4. If you see the square root sign, we always take the 4. So this is called the principal square root. and it's always positive. Square root of, no, let's do this. Wait, let me do this. If we have a problem like this, x squared equals 25, and we want to know what's x, we would take the square root of both sides, and in this case, x is going to be plus or minus 5. So you have to have the two answers in this case, because x could be positive or negative. Let's say you're multiplying or dividing terms. Let's just look at the examples here. So we have 6x squared y times negative 2xyz. You multiply the coefficients first, 6 times negative 2, and we'll simplify in a minute. Then we have an x squared in the first one and an x in the second one. Then we have a y in the first, a y in the second one, and then we have a z in the second one, but not the first. Now we rewrite it with the actual numbers multiplied, so negative 12. X squared times x is going to give you an x cubed, and y times y is y squared, and then times z. So the answer would be a negative 12 x cubed y squared z. Here's an example using dividing. 8x to the fourth y cubed z divided by negative 2 x cubed y to the fifth z squared. We can write it all the way out. So we have 8, 4 x's multiplied, 3 y's, and a z. And on the denominator we have a negative 2, 3 x's, 5 y's, and 2 z's. So we can cancel some of these. We're going to cancel 3 of the x's, 3 of the y's, and 1 z. And then let's cancel the negative 2 and the 8. Negative 2 goes to negative 1, and the 8 goes to 4. Now when we have a negative 1, either the numerator or the denominator, we can just make the whole answer negative. So this is going to be negative 4, and we have an x here, and in the denominator, we don't have anything else in the numerator, we have 2 y's and a z. So it's going to be y squared z left in the denominator. And that's the end of lesson 36.